Welcome to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where we feature top leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry with your host, Drew Hendricks. Now, let's get started with the show.
Drew Thomas Hendricks here. I'm the host of the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. On this show, I talk with leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry. I've got a really special episode today. We're going to do a run through of J. Lohr's white wines with the head winemaker, Kristen. Before I formally introduce her, got to do the sponsor message. Today's episode, sponsored by Barrels Ahead. At Barrels Ahead, we work with you to implement a one-of-a-kind marketing strategy, one that highlights your authenticity, tells your story, and connects you with your ideal customers. In short, we help wineries and craft beverage producers unlock their story to unleash their revenue. Go to barrelsahead.com today to learn more. Now, we also have Bianca Harmon joining us on the show today. She's our D2C strategist. How's it going, Bianca?
Going great. Really excited for this tasting episode.
Yes, I am super excited. So today we have Kristen Barnhisel on the show. Kristen's the white winemaker for J. Lohr. And she, leveraging 2 decades of viticultural and winemaking experience, she guides J. Lohr's white wine portfolio. How's it going, Kristen? Welcome to the show.
It's going well. Good to see you both.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to do this rundown. So 2 decades. And I got to say, in the pre-show, I see that you went to UCSD for undergraduate, about the same time I was getting my undergraduate in ancient Greek.
Fantastic. Well, and my undergraduate is actually in Italian literature.
Yeah, so I love people in
arts kind of background.
That started something completely different than where they are now.
Exactly. Well, it was really fun to, I studied French in high school, and I had the idea of maybe going abroad for junior abroad. Thought, my sister went to France, so I thought, I can study Italian and go to Italy. So I ended up studying for a couple of years and then studying in Padua and studying Italian literature in Padua.
Oh, wow. One of my biggest regrets was not doing the year abroad in Italy. I went to Gonzaga, and they had Gonzaga in Florence. And I was so caught up in ancient Greek and philosophy that I decided I didn't need to, but it was a huge regret.
Oh, it was good to get over there and to kind of expand horizons, for sure. Had the chance to study some things that I would have never had the chance to otherwise. Well, I'm sure you know with the ancient Greek, I got to study an ancient history class called the Magna Grecia. So the Great Greece, 300 BC, and some of the stories that people had from Greece and from southern Italy and that history there. I got the chance to study witchcraft in Venetian.
Oh, wow.
Some of the trials that they were studying, and again, to read those actually in the native dialect in Venetian. And of course, films, and a little bit of like Fellini and the films too. So anyway, that was earlier on, but
yes.
My undergrad was a bit.
What brought you into wine?
Well, I was introduced to it very early on. As you may have read, I grew up in Sonoma County. I grew up in Santa Rosa. Mm-hmm. And from when I was like 9, I was kind of going around the catwalks at CME Winery. My mom was microbiologist there back in the day when Zelma Long was winemaker there. And so I kind of grew up with the Chardonnay smells and on the catwalks and things. And I was 9, 10, 11 years old. And my first jobs were there when I was 18 and 19. I was assistant small lots winemaker there. Yeah. So doing some experimentation and half in the vineyard and half in the winery, kind of. Yeah, that was my first kind of like, I could do this. I really like being in the vineyards. I love farming. And then it gets hot. We come in and we do some lab work. I like the balance of life with that. So yeah, it was great. But it was really in Italy that I fell in love with wine and kind of saw it as more a conduit to conversation around the table, and really wanted to make something that people, could bring families together and friends together. So that was really my impetus when I was over there. I kind of like, okay, now I need to get back and get to UC Davis and get the training to do the winemaking program.
I like that track. Go out and see the world, because too many people just jump straight into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was really good to get some, again, get out there, get some other winery experience and other country experience. I also did in 1999, I did a harvest in South Africa for Lohr Winery. So I got to see that just outside of Stellenbosch down there, and worked about 8 weeks down there for the harvest. And again, just broadening horizons, just learning how different countries and different wineries do things.
Yeah, South Africa has been on my bucket list to visit, and especially the wine regions. What was the differences that you saw having a chance to spend time down there?
In South Africa?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, at that time, they were just, in 1999, they were just coming out of the co-op movement. I say co-op as a system for winemaking. So many growers, and then they typically bring their grapes to the co-op for processing. And it was just kind of moving away from that to individual wineries making their individual brands. So it was a time, I would say, more modernized and set up systems in place. So it's helping them look at setting up laboratories as their laboratory, what they could do in-house for laboratory work, what they could send out, getting some records in place for wine tracking and things like that. Just getting kind of systems in place as they kind of shifted to this new environment.
Wow.
And that, so that was in 1999. I highly recommend it. It's beautiful down there. And Table Bay and the area down there is a lot like San Francisco Bay, I would say. So there's a lot going on. I do appreciate that they are doing quite a bit of work with, of course, Pinotage inherently, but Cab Franc does well down there. Of course, Cabernet and Merlot we've seen, in more recent years. Chardonnay and Pinot in kind of some of the cooler regions on the southeastern coast. And Chenin, which is one of my favorite grapes I hope to work with sometime again. The Chenin Blanc is beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that was 99. Let's flash forward to J. Lohr, 2015. You came on as winemaker for the white wines.
Yes. Actually, I found out about this job. I thought, hey, J. Lohr, I can do this. My first job out of UC Davis was actually working at Columbia Crest and made Chardonnay consistently in Russian River and Anderson Valley, and Sauvignon Blanc and Rhone Whites at Inglenook before this. And then I found out about this job, and having known the Lohr family prior to joining, I was really like, I think it would be a really good fit. I've known them more through UC Davis and through the work that Jerry has done in terms of donating to research and donating to not only to help build the winery there for the fermentation room, but also in general. Now he's also in partnership at Cal Poly with, helping give back to that research organization. But he's always supported the American Society for Enology and Viticulture, an organization that works on sharing research information from various universities internationally. It's about 2,000 people. And I've known him because he's always been a big supporter of that as well in terms of research and education. And I was past president of ASEV in 2019 and 2020. So I had these connections with Jerry even before I, joined the company, and thought, that'll be a good fit. And continue experimentation, continue moving the wine industry forward, with what we can do and sharing information.
Yeah, and what a responsibility. So directing the white wine program at J. Lohr. Now, is that typical in a winery to have a red wine maker and a white wine maker and have it be siloed?
It is at this size, I think, and it makes a lot of sense. So back up a little bit, our winery is about 20 miles due south of Monterey Bay in the heart of Arroyo Seco. We have about 1,300 acres down there that we manage right at the winery. And it makes a lot of sense for us to have the winery right near the vineyards. So when Jerry first came here in 1972, he planted 280 acres and of 11 different varieties. And among them were Chardonnay and Riesling. And now we have, 1,300 acres that we farm there. But it does really make sense to actually have the winery right in the middle of the vineyards where we can night pick and early morning pick the fruit and keep it nice and fresh and actually just process it right there. So, and then the reds are actually about an hour south, of course, for the Merlot and the Cabernet and Paso Robles.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're all bringing it to the same winery, correct?
We have two different wineries, actually.
Oh, you do?
We do. Okay. Yeah. So the whites are processed, are brought in and pressed right in the heart of the vineyards. We have the winery right in the center of the vineyards there in Arroyo Seco. And then the reds are actually crushed down in Paso Robles, about an hour south, where, Bordeaux varieties and Rhone varieties grow a little better in that warmer climate.
Oh, yeah. No, I like the argument for keeping the winery next to the vineyard, because we've been hearing a lot on the show of that wineries trying to consolidate in like a central location and trucking all around.
Yeah. And for us, just for wine quality, we want to keep, for all the grapes that we manage, we're proud to be, especially for the white wines, to be growing everything that we crush and to be produced and bottled by J. Lohr. So it's all ours. We have control of the vineyards. We can bring it right into the winery and have that highest quality fruit that we're looking for.
And we've got a fantastic lineup that you've set up for us today. I'm really excited to jump into it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
What's the first one on the list here?
Yeah, so we're looking, this is our 2021, here I have it here in the glass too, the 2021 Flume Crossing Sauvignon Blanc that we're sharing today. This is great from Arroyo Seco. 2021 was a very cool vintage, I will say. The coolest in about a decade for Arroyo Seco. You know, we tend to be a cold region 1 in terms of climate, and it was the coolest since like 2012.
Oh, wow.
It's 100% Muscat clone. So we get that nice kind of grapefruit, key lime, passion fruit, a little bit of guava. We'd usually do about 10 picks of hand-picked and machine-picked for this wine.
Oh.
And bring it into the winery. Yeah.
I can
you like it?
definitely pick up the guava.
This is my favorite style of Sauvignon Blanc. Very crisp, refreshing, easy to drink. How many cases are you making of this one?
Thank you. We're making about 15,000 cases of that.
Wow.
We are, yeah. It retails for about $14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so we bring that in. We really like it nice and fresh. So we do about 70% stainless to keep that freshness. And then 30% is acacia wood. So, and not many people use acacia, but it really comes from the finish, really comes from the acacia.
Talk to me about that. An acacia barrel. Now, does it look like that's a stupid question, an oak barrel? What is the?
No, that's a very astute question, actually. It doesn't, it's a very different type of wood. It's a much lighter, I would say, yeah, more like pine or something. It's a much lighter colored wood. And it's very difficult to toast. I do know that. You have to warm it gently. It has a tendency to potentially burn very quickly, and it has a tendency to crack. It's a little bit drier style of wood. But we found a really good cooper that works very well with it. You know, we still use 59 gallons. We still use puncheons as well at 132 gallons. To ferment in, but not very many wineries use it, but it's beautiful. It's a light toast, so there's essentially no toast, but it's just really bringing that texture through by the nature of the wood.
I have not known a winery to use that.
What other kind of like phenolics and aromas does acacia wood bring to the table versus oak?
It tends to just really heighten the aromatic profile. So a lot of that white floral, that yellow floral kind of nature that comes out.
It doesn't give it that oakiness either. That oaky taste when people.
No, it's really not that. It's not vanilla. It's not lactone coconut. It's really this light, really delicate touch, which we found that works really well for aromatic whites.
It's fantastic.
It actually, yeah.
I have learned something. I've been tasting and drinking wine for 3 decades, and I think this is the first conversation I've had on acacia wood.
Great.
I've never heard of it, and I've worked in lots of wineries, so.
Is it acacia wood always been part of the program, or is that something new that you brought to the table?
It's been here since at least 2013 here at J. Lohr. Yeah, it predates me, actually. I think we had a cooper that approached Jeff Meyer before me and said, hey, you should try some acacia. We have some acacia. You should check it out. Maybe give it an experiment. So we did and really liked the results. And
cost-wise, too, it's probably much more affordable.
It is. It's still French coopered. It's French acacia. So, but it is for sure cheaper than French barrels. Yeah.
Right.
Now this comes from France. Is acacia widely used in France? And we just don't.
I don't know, actually. I've had one conversation with the French winemaker that did, actually, but I don't know widespread in France how much it's used. But I think it's beautiful. I love what it does with this fruit.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, this is lovely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How'd you like it? What a fun grape to work with. Sauvignon Blanc, it really takes its time during the season, but then it finishes so fast in terms of like ripeness. And so we're checking it every day at that point to make sure like, okay, we got to pick it today and keep that acidity and freshness.
Absolutely. Now you're just wrapping up, as we talked in the pre-show, you're just wrapping up the last of the harvest this year.
Yes, today.
How has 2022 been as far as growing conditions, warmth, and
very good. I would say a unique vintage.
How so?
I think about probably a lot of winemakers would say that. For us in Arroyo Seco, it was very, very cool. Like on track with, I would say, last year, which I was saying was the coolest in the decade. Very cool, very cool. Until we all got that heat wave at the beginning of September. And that was 10 days of just heat. And then that popped like the Sauvignon Blancs for sure, and our early Chardonnays even pretty fast. And then it cooled down again. After those 10 days, then it cooled down. So very, I guess, just unique. I think we picked some early stuff and then kind of waited a little bit. We actually uniquely took a week off of harvest to let things ripen as they normally would. Our usual harvest is the month of October, if you can imagine. And so,
interesting, because Napa is harvesting usually their whites in August. like August, September. So I was sitting here listening to you say October, and I'm like, wow, that's really late, I feel like, to be harvesting bites. But you're on the coast, you're on the Monterey.
We're on the coast, yeah. And being south of Monterey Bay, we actually get the wind during the growing season, about 20 miles an hour coming down the valley, and that in the Salinas Valley, and that actually shuts down the vines. So we are typically like 3 weeks later than a lot of areas, at least in terms of ripeness, just because the vines shut down for protection from that wind. And so we get a little bit longer hang time. We get higher acidities from that, and we get better textures in the wines from that. But really, yeah, usually October is our month. So even to be finishing today is a little early.
It is.
For this season. Yeah. And like most places I've seen, I think we're a little bit lower yield, I think. And I think that's been probably all over California. But we're seeing a little bit lower yield this year in the whites in general, probably due to the weather that we had during bloom time, which was that very cool and windy weather, back in April and May.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to, it's been an unusual vintage across the board. California, even in Oregon, where they lost most of their crop in the Willamette Valley for right at bud break.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
So sad. Yeah, just right at the beginning. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because even here we had hail then, and I just kept thinking, oh no, this is going to be terrible.
Oh,
and then I saw what happened to Oregon, and then Oregon ended up having like heat waves even longer than California did. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Such a crazy year for sure. Okay. I'm very grateful for what we brought in house. It's kind of like, okay, this is what we got. It's a little smaller. It still tastes really good. High acids, yeah. It's going to be a nice Burgundian style of
that's my favorite. So let's see. What's next on the list? We've got the Lohr Jester.
Yes. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the Gesture RVG.
Yes.
That
the
you have
2021.
So 2021. Great. So kind of dovetailing off the conversation we were just having on frost. Yeah. I think we had one frost there last year, but for sure this year in 2022, we've seen frosts out there. This comes from the Adelaida district. So far western Paso Robles. And we do have some nice limestone soils out there that do beautifully with these Rhone varieties. So these are actually picked and then brought up to the Greenfield Winery from our vineyards there. It's about an hour and 20 to bring the grapes up there. So they're picked in the early morning. And most of this blend, the backbone is Roussanne, and then about 35% Grenache Blanc to give it some nice freshness and that green apple flavor. And then just a top hat, as we say, of about 10% is Viognier, just for that nice floral and peach.
Tell us about the Roussanne. I don't feel like a lot of wineries are using Roussanne that much, period.
They don't use a lot of it, I don't think. Yeah, I really like it for its neutrality and the honeydew and honey flavors and really the texture. So it's kind of starting this wine with the texture and then backing into, the highlighting the acid, highlighting the fruit component. So, but the first thing is kind of texture for this one.
You can definitely, the honey comes out on the nose. It's a great smelling Roussanne. I drink a lot of Northern Rhones, and it's very good.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. And maybe another new thing, we found a few years ago, also these kind of poly tanks that we purchased, about 260 gallons, these kind of square tanks, but they have as poly tanks. Poly tanks actually have less permeability than a neutral barrel. So we get like the texture from things that ferment in there from the larger volume than a barrel, but then it actually really retains the freshness because it's not, the oxygen permeability is less. So part of this is that we really appreciate. And then again, we also augment it with Acacia Wood and French.
Oh, really?
I was going to ask if you used Acacia in this as well.
We do.
Pure fruit. There's not a lot of wood aromas coming off, at least up from what I'm taking in right now.
Yeah, no, we tend to use very neutral, maybe 3 and 4 year old wood that goes into this blend. So just pick out the best of the best for this blend. It's only a couple hundred cases that we make here. So.
Yeah, talking about your white wine program, when you came on board in 2015 versus 2022, how has the program evolved? Like what sort of impact have you put on the...
I would say holistically, it's little shifts. I like to liken it just, like guiding a ship, So 9,000 tons generally is what we do, 500,000 cases. Okay, most of it, of course, Chardonnay. But the changes that I made have been little, the little tweaks in the types of yeast we use and the little tweaks of the type of the barrels we use, and just making sure that we're getting the right fruit on the right barrel, the right fruit on the right oak.
Sure.
Or acacia. And again, just like, maybe switching things a little bit 5 degrees. I think overall, I'm looking for, like you're saying, better integration of oak. So it just augments what the wine already is. And it's not, sticking out like, oh, I get oak on this. So it really augments the flavor profile and works like integrated within it. And also a little bit more freshness, a little bit more kind of higher acidity.
Sure, a little more refinement. Because it's always good. You come into a program and you don't want to just come and go, oh, I had to overhaul that from the start. Sometimes it's really rewarding just to that's where you need your skill set to add that final polish, to add just those little nuances, like you said, to guide that ship that's already going in the right direction.
Exactly. Well, and for the consumers too, of course, they don't want to pick up a bottle and be like, oh, this wasn't what I had last time.
So it is.
Okay, I'm going to tweak it a little bit.
It's preserving that house style. And
exactly.
House styles, pure fruit. That's the way I've always described it. Just really nice, pure, clean fruit, great body. It still has some acidity.
Yeah, some real freshness on the finish. It's getting that, kind of sculpting that any tannin that might come through. It's kind of getting that balance right for the texture and the tannins that come through and the acid. Just trying to get that balanced.
And you guys are a certified sustainable winery, I see too.
We are. All of our whites carry that seal. We're very excited. Yes. 10 years in, certified. And in 2020, we won the Green Medal Award.
Oh, wow. That's
fantastic. I'm very proud of that. Yes. From CSWA. So very proud to carry that forward. Yeah.
Green Medal Award?
The Green Medal Leader Award it's for the California Sustainable Wine Growing Alliance. Has one winery that they choose each year that best represents the sustainable nature of our industry and all the efforts that we've done. And it has to do not only for sustainability, not only taking care of the environment as we kind of think of it. There's also I would say a community aspect to that is, how do you work with your neighbors? What kind of philanthropic things do you do? And how do you take care of your employees? There's that aspect too. And then economics as well. So kind of the 3 E's, they call it, of sustainability, to carry that forward. But all of those components. And then it's really a huge honor that J. Lohr got that Green Medal Award in 2020.
It really is.
A leader in sustainability in the industry. Yeah, very excited for that.
I have to say, I'm going to be drinking a lot more of this. I drink a lot of Roussanne from Paso. We're big fans of Tablas Creek, and I've got aged Roussannes from there all the way back. And it's actually my wife's go-to for when we have wine. So this is a great expression of Adelaida Roussanne.
Oh, thank you.
It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you like it.
I've actually been wanting to go to J. Lohr for years, so I was really excited when you guys were coming on.
That's great. Thank you. Glad to hear it. Yeah.
Let's see. So we're shifting to the Chardonnays now.
And we're starting with the Riverstone.
And let's start with the Riverstone Chardonnay. Yes.
Okay.
Here we go with the 2021 Riverstone Chardonnay. Just a sidelight, so Riverstones, harking to the Arroyo Seco river stones that are in the soil about 6 feet down in Greenfield. They're cobblestones that force the vines to grow deep and keep the vines in balance. So just a little background on that in the Arroyo Seco area. Okay. And so this is actually night harvested. We bring this fruit in at night and early morning. We have about 10 different clones that go into this wine. As you might imagine, clones 4 and 5, which kind of for Chardonnay is ubiquitous throughout California. The basis, and then we've feathered in now several, like the Dijon clones. We have several blocks of clone 96 and 95 and 96. And then in more recent years, we have the Robert Young clone 17. And this last year was the first year that we actually included a little Mount Eden as well from here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So very excited to have all those 10 clones, building those layers into the wine.
So there is a little bit of a malolactic fermentation done on this one.
This wine is about 70% through malolactic.
Is it?
We like that little bit of creaminess, but again, working with the fruit. So we kind of get more of a peaches and cream or orange cream kind of flavor.
Yeah, I can definitely taste it on this one.
There's also, and for lack of a better word, there's a little bit of a spiciness to it.
And I think, yeah, the oak spiciness is coming through there too. We're about 20% new oak. And most of that's American oak. And about most of it's like American oak, a little bit of Hungarian and a little bit of French.
I was going to ask if you guys used any Hungarian.
We do. It's a great tweener kind of barrel. I love what it does. I think it comes across as some of the aspects of the American oak, a little bit of that sweetness, but then kind of the baking spices like a French. So it's kind of a little bit of each, which comes out really well.
Yeah, this is good. I definitely taste the baking spice flavors on this one.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so we're 100% barrel fermented. All of the lots are night harvested and then barrel ferment, up until 7 months, 8 months. And we also use about 6 different types of yeast. That's another way we build layers into the Chardonnay program. I'm always doing a yeast trial every year and a Cooper trial every year to make sure that we're getting the right yeast.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of to work with our fruit and work with the program. And the Coopers too, with working with Coopers, we want to make sure that we evaluate them every year to make sure that they're still matching the wine and matching the program, or maybe do some slight tweaks there to work with them on what they might recommend for our fruit, knowing our fruit very well. But we typically get this nice stone fruit and ripe citrus for the Arroyo Seco and just try to augment that in the wine. So
being a white winemaker, what would be your favorite grape varietal to work with?
I love working with Chardonnay. That? Okay. I really do. Yeah. And it's a perfect palette. It's a perfect canvas to work on where you get to bring in the grapes. We have some hand pick, some machine pick, and then just look at what we can do in terms of the different barrels that we use and the different yeast that we use to kind of craft it. So
Chardonnay is a very versatile grape.
It really is. It really is. So you can kind of I'll use a little bit of this and I'll use a little bit of that in terms of flavor profile. So yeah, just augmenting things.
Yeah.
It's very fun. And working with malolactic, non-malolactic, we do have about 4 different malolactic strains too that we work with. So yeah, I think there's a lot you can do to craft.
Just add all these layers.
Well, because I feel like
it's all about the layers. Yeah.
Yeah. For a while there, even me personally, just because I'm not one of those style drinkers, turned away from Chardonnay because they were all making them so buttery. And it was like, you're taking away from the beauty of the Chardonnay grape when you're doing the heavy malolactic fermentation on them. There's so many beautiful flavors in Chardonnay.
It's really lovely. Yeah, you get the apple and the pear, the white floral, Meyer lemon. You get all these different layers and then the stone fruit. Yeah.
But there is the big buttery Chard love, for those lovers too, so it can go either way. It's beautiful.
So we're trying to strike a balance here of saying like, okay, we're going to respect the fruit and just have a little bit of creaminess on, for the malolactic, but just not overwhelmed. Like that's the only thing you get.
Right. This is great.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it. It's very fun to make it, and we don't even force the malolactic. We do inoculate 70% of the cellar and then see if, as far as they go, if they, stop fermenting and it's tasting a little tired, we'll go ahead and sulfur it. So there's that freedom too, to kind of say like, okay, well, this is the year we're given. And it's, kind of look at what we've got in the cellar and say, yep, that's good for this year to match the program. So, yeah.
Forcing the wine where it doesn't want to go.
Yeah. I think that's, as I go through my career, there's a lot more like that. That's just, I would say, more intuition that is like understanding, okay, this is what this lot can do, like understanding this vintage and saying, okay, this is what we got for this vintage. And maybe it's because being farmers, you just kind of say, okay, this is what we got. We're going to try to make the best of it.
I want to ask you before Drew and I were talking about this earlier about the different corks on your bottles.
Oh, yes.
Each one has a different cork, and kind of curious about what made you decide that, why you're using certain ones with certain wines, or if there is even a reason behind it.
Of course, we want to use the best for all of our wines, but all of them, getting toward lower TCA, I think at the end of the day, we're looking for very clean corks. For something like the Diam on the RVG that you can see, guaranteed, the no TCA on those corks, but also just the option for that. And I would say also the Arroyo Vista, the corks that we chose for that, to be able to age those even, 5 years or more as a possibility. I think those are those reasons for those choices.
Does the Diam 10, does that mean that it can age 10 years, or is that just the level of the?
I think that's the level of the oxygen permeability.
I was talking to another winemaker about that. at first you see compressed cork, but then you realize there's a lot of serious technology going into this.
Exactly. And again, to guarantee that lack of TCA on that's very, well, again, we only do 200 cases of that. So it's very important that
on the one we just drank, we only
on the
do
one we just, the RVG, the
wow.
Jester.
200 cases. I think that was one of my favorites so far.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. Very fun.
Fantastic. Because I had a Diam 5, so that would be 5% permeable.
Yes. So that gives you an indication of how tight cork is, letting in oxygen. So, and then for the Riverstone, we have a larger production on that, like 500,000 cases.
Oh, wow.
Still looking for a good cork with the lack of TCA. Those are actually, I do know those are fully recyclable too, those corks as well. So always an eye toward that.
500,000. This wine tastes more boutique than 500,000.
Yeah, I'm shocked that it was 500,000. I was like, whoa.
Thank you. We have our crew that comes in, not only do we barrel ferment, we have this amazing crew that comes in. We do weekly leaster by hand, all the barrels, all the 26,000 barrels in house. So yeah, it's a lot of handwork goes into that in terms of decisions for picking, in terms of barrel fermentation and tracking things and then stirring all the barrels, keep it fresh.
We have a second Chardonnay here. This is the Royal Vista.
This is the Arroyo Vista, yes.
2020 was your certified sustainable winery winner year.
Yes, exactly. Very special bottle in a very special year.
Yeah, I love the label on this one.
Thank you. That was actually shortly after we redesigned it. I think that was
really?
I think 2018 or 2019 we redesigned it. So
yeah, I like the simplicity of it. I like it. Very classic, simple.
Thank you. I think, and just that neutral green, just a very nice, classy, classy hunter green kind of color. Yeah. So the grapes for this wine, we were shifting a little bit. This is our ode to Burgundy. This is our reserve Chardonnay. And all the grapes for this are hand-picked actually and brought to the winery in the, early morning. And then this is fermented entirely in French oak for about 14 months.
And what's the malolactic on this one?
It's a little bit higher. It's about 85%. Still trying to let that brioche apple, baked apple kind of come through, baked pear.
As soon as you said brioche, I was thinking, this is brioche.
That's exactly so what we try for.
And what's the case protection on this one?
This is about 10,000 cases. These come in actual six-pack cases.
This is very Burgundian.
Yes. Ooh, it's got a very beautiful finish on it.
Just tried a nice, fresh, clean finish. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Like the finish was very nice.
I'm looking for something that can really go well with food, food dishes. More of that kind of little Meyer lemon, ripe apple.
I drink this with my chicken soup. I make a really lemony chicken noodle soup. I'm like, wow, it's actually.
That sounds great for dinner tonight.
I was actually considering making that, so maybe now I need to. Got a bottle of wine to finish.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, this is great. And so did you kind of, being that this is like the ode to Burgundy, were you a pusher in this one? Was this around before you? I know you love your French Burgundy wines, or?
Yes, both. It was around before me, and just little tweaks along the way. Just, again, a little bit fresher, a little bit probably less oak impact, less obvious oak. So, but definitely my inspiration really comes from Burgundy, from somebody like Le Fleuve, just kind of looking toward the old world as inspiration. Definitely.
That's
definitely like that crisp, that freshness. Even though you have malolactic, you still have that kind of linearity and freshness through the mid palate. That's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
So do you guys have just a white wine club?
We do. We have several different levels, but we do have a white wine club. Of course, a white wine club and a red wine club for those that really just want to enjoy those wines.
Yeah.
This
is great.
You can enjoy that at, jlohr.com. As we do.
Talking about your white wine portfolio, how many different white wines do you produce a year? Like, what is the scope?
So of the other ones, we tried 4 of them today. Of the other ones we produce, we also do a Riesling. really nice crisp Riesling, semi-dry at like 1.8% RS, just stainless steel fermentation. And then we also do another Chardonnay, which is October Night Chardonnay that is about 9 months in French oak. And it's clone 809. So it's all Muscat clone of Chardonnay.
Oh.
So if you like, Muscat clone of Chardonnays, again, comes across more like Viognier. And we just try to, balance that out and give it some freshness and texture. So we have those wines. And then occasionally, if the year is right, we do make a late harvest Riesling too. And so we made one in 16 and 17 and 18, and then we made one in 2021 as well. So hopefully, I think this year we don't have the botrytis to be able to do that in the vineyard, but hopefully that'll come back around for 2023 then. Yeah.
So you can tell at this stage that you've got botrytis or not? I thought it happens later.
No, we actually can tell. I mean, this is when we would evaluate it in the vineyard to see if we're going to keep the grapes on the vine. We're just picking everything. Yeah. Yeah. So very exciting. We have the 6-7 wines that we make, and just the attention to detail on each one, which is very fun.
Oh, that's
so
fantastic.
We didn't try one, if I could mention two. We didn't
say the Pinot Blanc.
The Pinot Blanc. I know.
Yeah.
We have to taste that today. But we do have an F&G vineyard, Francione and Griva vineyard, Pinot Blanc, which Pinot Blanc was one of the first grapes that Jerry got to work with almost 50 years ago here in Arroyo Seco. And the Pinot Blanc actually we bring it in and hand pick it, and it's more Alsatian in style. So it's really, lower sugar, lower in alcohol kind of style. And then we ferment it in the concrete egg in an oeuf de Beaune, which is great to work with. It keeps the temperature nice and cool. And then the concrete just really has this nice minerality that it brings to anything we put in there. So
yeah, I love Pinot Blanc from concrete eggs.
Yeah, me too.
How long have you been working with the concrete eggs?
They came in I think 2018. We received 2 of them. So one of them is dedicated for the Pinot Blanc, and the other one is a clone 548, which is one of the Corton Charlemagne clones of Chardonnay. And that's dedicated, and that does end up in the Arroyo Vista each year. So kind of thinking maybe at some point we might do like a GTC wine with that oeuf de Beaune Chardonnay. Which would be
that would be amazing. Would it be almost a Chablis kind of style?
Exactly. Yeah. Also the hand pick and just, fresh acidity with that ripe apple and light floral characters. Just beautiful. And again, just really the texture that comes from that 500 gallons of the egg is really great to match the acidity. Very fun things to play with. I wish we could have some more concrete eggs at some point.
I was going to ask, are you using concrete eggs? They're incredible.
Yeah. We're using these 2 concrete eggs, and I was hoping, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we can get some more in the coming years. That'd be very exciting.
Demand for that style of wine is going to enable more and more wineries to start using it. I think there's a push towards that cleaner, kind of stonier style.
And that's what we hear too. And it's nice.
No, I was just going to say, I remember one winery I worked at years ago for Scott One, and it was like, what is this? And it's like, it's old technology, but new technology to Napa. And because it's been around for years and years, but it wasn't used. And it just gives this beautiful mineralization and crisp, clean, and it's fantastic.
Just wonderful to work with. And I appreciate that, at least for our cellar too, it stays at 55 degrees. It stays this nice, cool fermentation just naturally, it's great. Nothing's happening in that concrete in terms of temperature, which is great. Again, that's helping retain the aromas and acid there. So
do you use it on your Riesling at all?
We don't, but that's a great idea. Maybe the next one, I would love to try that.
Oh my gosh.
It'd be great.
It's fantastic.
I can only imagine just how that would seamlessly go with the flavors of Riesling.
Yes.
That'd be beautiful. That'd be beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to try that. I have tried in the past. I have tried working with foudres. I guess that's another unique kind of like the 900-gallon ovals. They're just essentially not toasted or very lightly toasted on the inside. And those for Riesling or Pinot Blanc do very well too in terms of flavor profile, which is very fun to see. So there's some fun experimentation in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're at the place for it.
For sure. It's a good match.
Well, this has been an amazing lineup here. And Kristen, as I kind of wrap down, I always ask you, like, over 2 decades, what keeps you motivated in moving forward? And what are you looking forward to?
I think looking forward to more experimentation. I think maybe working with some new grape varietals, which would be really fun too. Shannon would be beautiful. Yeah. And what we have, in terms of fermentation vessels and exploring that would be great. And yeah, just training. I'm at this point too, where I'm training not my staff, but I'm a big believer in mentorship.
Yeah.
And actually on the mentorship committee for ASCB too. So people that I come across, it's like I really get excited about watching, sharing some knowledge and answering their questions and seeing what they learn. So I'm looking forward to continuing, teaching that and guiding this program. So
yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Kristen, this has been such a great lineup. Well, people know where to find J. Lohr, but where can people find out more about you, J. Lohr, and these wines?
Yeah, if they want to check it, jlohr.com and to find more information and order some wines. We also have this great, actually, it's good timing, the 18th of October. We do have this great sweepstakes going on now for real Chardonnay. Yes, the grand prize is winning 2 airfare tickets to Monterey and a hotel stay. And then we'll give them a tour of the winery and we'll taste some things out of barrel, as well as a little gift card too. So yeah, it's a chance to do that. So on the main page of jlohr.com, you can enter, anybody can enter, and look forward to seeing you. And of course, if you guys want to visit, if either one of you, Bianca or Drew, want to come visit, feel free to reach out. And let me know.
I definitely will. I
definitely do.
Passing through that way. We go up to Big Sur all the time. So
it's
great. Easy chance to drive up. And then we continue on to San Francisco. So we'd be passing right by through there.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Love to show you around. We get some things out of barrel that are just finishing up fermentation. Great.
Oh, can't wait. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
You're a great man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.